Next up, the Serb herself. We got Jelena Zbiljic, Serbian as hell, which I always love. Jelena is no stranger to equal time coverage. Yell, you've played at the U of M when you were with UIC, and I think we did a post game with you. You've had to deal with me forever because of that. You obviously are from Minnesota, which is, I think, unique out of all the 4 transfers. You're the one coming home, which is really exciting. Thanks so much for joining us, Yell.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited.
So I think I have this right. I think you should have 2 years left of eligibility. You did 45 games at UIC. Really, I think, I've probably seen you play more than any of the other transfers coming in, so we can talk about your game in a second, but talk about what about the U made you want to come home and play for the Gophers?
Honestly, I just always wanted to kind of like finish up at home after playing with Aurora over the summer and just like being home for the first time in the summer because I wasn't home the summer before. I stayed in Chicago. And so being home and just being with family and then also just like being able to represent my home state for the U. I mean, my mom went to the U. She was on the dance team here. She was the captain, and I've been on the U's campus since I was probably like 10 years old, going to like hockey games, basketball, football. Like we've just lived and breathed Gopher sports ever since I was little. So being able to represent them now and be a part of it, it's just amazing. Like I'm so happy to be here. It's just very exciting.
I love that tie-in. Your mom was the dance team captain. That's so legit, by the way. So I had completely forgotten. Folks will know Mark and I are both obsessed with hyping up the moms on Equal Time because the moms are easily the biggest supporters of Equal Time. Our mom, players' moms, the coaches' moms. It's just like moms in general. And so now I know I get to have your mom on for a What Do the Mom Think segment. I completely forgot about this. This is great.
Yeah.
Yell's mom is the absolute best. She's like the nicest person in the entire world. So Yell, you mentioned, getting to come home is like such a fun thing. And honestly, Aaron basically had a similar journey. You both were Chicago area folks, and now coming back to Minnesota. I think I would describe your game as sort of, for Gopher fans who want comparisons, as sort of Meg Grayian, or even sort of similar to Sophia Romine. Honestly, I think there's elements of that sort of jack of all trades, like high work rate, high grit rate, kind of plays well in combination, sort of could play wherever, which honestly that can be a benefit, but as a player it also can be a detriment. You're like, great, now I get to play outside back, what a freaking party. But so you've probably seen the Gophers play at least a little bit, you've played against them a little bit, you sort of are generally aware of Aaron, all that stuff. Where do you think, you can play all these different places, your game is pretty flexible, but where, if everything worked perfectly and everything aligned perfectly, where do you think you sync best in, the sort of stuff you've seen of Gopher Soccer?
Yeah, probably somewhere along the outside, outside mid, outside back, depends like formation wise, either a wing back, outside forward, or a traditional outside back. Because I kind of came into college soccer as an attacking center mid and went all over the place, and then ended as an outside back. And then with Aurora, went up to outside forward. So I've kind of like seen it all. And I guess I just really like the width and taking players on. And I think probably anywhere along the outside. I mean, it is nice to be able to play a bunch of different positions, but I've started to get more comfortable with the wing and outside back.
There's been a bunch of tinkering the last 2 seasons anyway. Like the idea of me trying to predict where anyone will play is, first of all, I'm always very wrong, but the idea of trying to do it now is especially wrong. So I'll continue to keep being wrong. But I think in particular, if the Gophs end up still running that 3 front, like a 4-3-3 with the true like wingers up top, I've already started daydreaming, man. I've already started daydreaming about like keep Romine as the center forward instead of the 10, put her at center forward, put you on the wing, put like Nemec on the wing, like don't do full, get Sadie Harper in the mix, do full chaos press, like no holds bar. And like Erin is about to block me on her cell phone for sure, because anytime I text her about anything, I'm like, press. Like all I can think about is the press. And I think you do have that as part of your game, but talk about just kind of what some of your strengths. I mean, I'm sort of like speaking what I think your strengths are, but talk about the stuff you're sort of most proud of in your game, like what you think your biggest selling points to a program like the U were for them being like, oh yeah, she's played 50 games, like we know what her game is. But how do you sort of, when you have to talk to Erin, how do you kind of like pitch your game of like, this is what I bring?
I guess just being like a versatile player has really had its perks. I've kind of seen the field in a bunch of different places, so I'm
Right.
kind of familiar with how other people play in different positions. So I know how to go up against outside backs because I was one myself, or
Yeah.
like going against attacking center mids or defending them. And I don't know, I really like to take players on 1v1 or do that like combination play and just get good like crosses and serves into the box, stuff like that. I think that's what my stronger suit is just kind of going at players 1v1, taking my chances and hopefully making them look silly or something.
You saying I love to go at players 3 times in the first 5 minutes is like you're just throwing bait at me. You're just trying to get me psyched for the fall season. You're just trying to get me all excited. Like you just know I'm psyched. You're, like I said, you're sort of grit and do it all versatility. You're sort of a classic like equal time all-star. You know, that's the type of player that we always hype up. But I really think you also like I mentioned the political stuff with Cam before this. You also are like number one in my heart because you're the only college soccer player I've ever seen say they chose their college because they wanted to be in a big city. And you said that when you went to Chicago. And I love that so much because like women's soccer can be suburban as hell. And so when you said you wanted to be in a big city, I thought that was so cool. But I mean, that's just super fun. But you obviously, you know, you're at UIC for 2 years. You're familiar with Minneapolis. What about sort of that city environment is something that appeals to you?
Well, I had family in Chicago, so we've always like gone to Chicago in the summers and stuff like that. So it kind of felt like my second home. And I just really liked being in the city because being away from home, kind of trying to just do college on your own and be your own person and figure yourself out. I feel like it was amazing to have 2 years in Chicago and kind of do that and go through just like life on my own in a little bit, like
Right.
just being in a big city and also like having things to do around there. I mean, there's always something to do in Chicago and same here in Minneapolis. There's
Mhm.
always something to do. I really like the appeal of being in a city rather than some like small town or something just because
Right.
there's so much livelihood and there's just a lot going on.
What's the go-to? Let's talk Chicago. I know, like, truly nothing about it other than having been there 10 times in my life or something, but what's the go-to stuff? Like, what was the standard issue, like activity for you and the squad? Like, what were the go-to spots?
It's a very cultural city, so I love that. I mean, there's like Serbian stuff you can do over there. Some guys on the men team, one was Ukrainian. We went to a Ukrainian festival. We
Yeah.
lived in Little Italy, so they blocked off the whole road for Italian festivals. We lived by Greek Town, there was like huge Greek festivals, just like a lot of different culture aspects that you kind of like get to see all these different cultures and all these different people come together, and it was really cool. Or we'd be really close to Lake Michigan, so we would just bike to the lake and be in the
Uh-huh.
city, and that was super fun. Or we'd go downtown and there's always a lot of tourists, like there's just always something. We biked a lot as a team, different places, either
I
downtown or something like that.
Dude, this is the first time I think a player has ever mentioned biking. Obviously, I'm an absurd biking nerd too. We're gonna yell, like we're gonna rope you into some bike content now. Like, look out, this is dangerous. Um, I think there was a point in the winter, when I was chatting with Erin and asking about possible transfers, and she was sort of, I think there was a point where she thought none of the transfers would be able to come in for spring. And I think so you're here for spring, right? Like you're with the
Yeah.
program, which I think was a surprise to me in an exciting way, because I think that that time to sort of get some reps and get comfortable with the program and all that stuff is really beneficial. So I have two things I need to ask you about. First of all, just what do you think that means for you to have that extra time to adapt? So we can cover that first, and then the second one, I'm going to make you give all the intel you have on Paige, who's an incoming freshman but is early enrolled. So you have seen her play. Like I haven't seen it. We need to get some intel. So start with sort of what it is for you, and then we're going to get into the Paige scouting report.
Okay. For me, it's just awesome because I get to be with the team right now. I started up like winter trainings when I was cleared. I had to wait to get my physical and stuff. So I got to work with Corey in the winter with some of the local girls. So I got to know them a little bit before we even started in the spring, which was very nice to kind of get the hang of stuff before getting thrown into it all. And then now here in the spring, like this was our first week of actual soccer practice. And it's just nice to be able to see how differently some people play, or like I get to play with Sophia Bowman, who I played club with, and like I get to play with certain people that I haven't played with in a while. So it's kind of fun to reconnect that way. And it's just nice to like bond and gel before we actually start the season next fall, because it starts like right away. You get going. So it's really nice to have this extra time.
The fall season, I've started saying it more and more. The fall season is nuts. Like I cannot believe every time it starts up again and then it's happening. Like I cannot believe the hell you all go through like during the fall season. Like it is the 2 days a weekend and the sprint. There's like no recovery, and then that starts, and then classes get added, and I'm just like, God, these women are freaking Terminators, man. Like this is crazy town. Well, and so yeah, you're a spring enrollee, which I think for a transfer is maybe more common. And then this program hasn't had a ton of freshman early enrollees, but Paige, I think it's Kalal. I'm probably saying it wrong. Kalal, whatever. She is very hyped by the coaching staff. Like the coaching staff is very high on Paige. Like possibly could play big minutes, even start as a freshman level, like hype to me, which is very rare. So give us the tea, give us the inside stuff. What's Paige's game? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, she's my roommate right now, so it's really awesome to be able to both be the newbies, like living together.
Yeah.
But she's awesome, like work rate, phenomenal, technical, like a very, very skilled technical player. Like really high IQ. She's kind of an attacking center midfielder, so knows when to like find those pockets of space for herself or distribute to others. So that's just really nice, especially being like an outside forward or a winger, like to have someone find those find you as an option and stuff like that. But she's also very, very technical player. So like her on the ball, I'm confident in her skill.
Dude, I need to chill. I'm getting way too hype, and the season's like 9 months away. I'm already getting like so psyched to watch this team. It's the only heartbreaking thing is that the spring season is so kooky that like even when the team is available, and you know, I drove to Lawrence, Kansas to watch the game last year. Like I go to these road games. It's still so kooky because of player availability. So I can't even get my spring hopes up because it's like, who's event, you know, if there's only, if you have to do a random 3-back one game and then the next game you do whatever. So I need to, I'll pump the brakes. I'll chill. Don't worry. And I'm curious too, you know, when you were coming into the program, you know, you have a Chicago, had that Chicago connection, and obviously Meg, who's coming on next, is, you know, Chicago area, even, you know, from Illinois. And Aaron, like there was a joke with the guy on Twitter was like, oh, I bet Aaron knows about Yale because Equal Time's been covering her. I'm like, or because Aaron coached in Chicago for 10 years and knows every single person in that whole city. But was there any sort of Chicago connection, do you think? Like, did she mention that she'd seen you or was aware? I know she knows, you know, the UIC coach like Dave, and I know there's so many webs of connections and stuff, but did that come up, that Chicago connection?
Not really. I know she like knows David very well, and
Right.
he was an awesome coach, and obviously came from a Big Ten program, so it was nice to have him as our coach too. And she speaks very highly of him, and so it's nice that they have a great relationship. And then also just she's from Minnesota. I mean, we went to a few Aurora games, and Nicole was very helpful too, Coach Nicole from Aurora, and just I don't know, I kind of just put myself out there. I really wanted to come home, be at the U. They're really the only people I was really like wanting to talk to and be a part of their program when I entered the transfer portal. And it's just, I'm so thankful it all worked out, because once I found out that it would start working out, I just didn't even want to look anywhere else and just make that my priority.
Nice. Well, Yell, thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, we don't want to just do comparisons, like straight up one for one comparisons, but there is a Meg Gray shaped hole in my soccer heart right now. And I do think there's going to be some Venn diagramming of that fandom. So Yell, thanks so much for joining us and looking forward to see you in those spring games.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Matt.